For the past week on this YouTube channel, I've been talking about the fact that funding rates have reached very high levels, and because of that, we have finally seen a flash crash to the downside. Bitcoin dropped downwards 14% in just 4 hours, marking the biggest downside move on this entire pump to the upside since 38.5k. And now, in the wake of that move, we have to ask the question, will Bitcoin continue to the downside? And if so, where to and for how long? Big stuff to discuss today, guys. Let's get into it.
We're going to take 30 seconds of time to look into a few things before we start the video here. The VIP group chat and VIP channel on Telegram give you altcoin trading signals and a VIP 24/7 discussion group, okay? 78.52% win rate. A PDF of all of the historical trading results is posted in that group. Check it out. Fully transparent stuff. BingX and BitGet are my exchanges for this YouTube channel. Both are very low in trading fees. Both have never been hacked before. They've got my referral links down below for a 15% lifetime trading fee discount. You're going to save thousands by using that. On BingX exclusively right now, we have a trading contest. You can find all the details below. iPads, Apple Watches, iPhones, they're all up for grabs there. And then finally, if you want to learn how to trade, you can do it in the Crypto Academy. We have a bull market sale teaching you TA in a 30 to 40 hour structured course. Everything you need is in that course to learn how to trade. Great thing to use in the bull market, hence the bull market sale. Let's get into the content without further ado. Okay, Bitcoin has seen a flash crash. And I'm not clickbaiting you. I'm not trying to be sensationalist. That's exactly what we've seen, okay? We've seen a 15% drop on Bitcoin in 4 hours. That is a flash crash if I've ever seen it. 15% is a very large drop downwards in a very short period of time. Now, what was the context leading up to the crash? Well, Bitcoin's obviously been edging to the upside continuously since 38.5k, which we reached back here in January. Every single move upwards has been bullish. In fact, I've pointed out multiple times throughout this move that every single structure is bullish constantly, but it's the underlying narratives that have been driving this structure. And look, people say things like, oh, the ETF has driven this move to the upside, and that's very, very, very true. But it's important to note that the narrative surrounding ETFs is actually much stronger than the ETF buying itself. People are buying because of ETFs, and that is leading the price to go upwards. The buying that is coming through ETFs is helping, but it's not the bulk of the move. So it's important to note that narratives are stronger than realities. And so through the ETF narrative conjoined with the reality, we've actually been able to just skyrocket on Bitcoin. We've seen consistently 15% of a trading volume coming through ETFs, most of it being bullish. Every single move to the upside has been a bullish pennant formation, straight to the upside, bullish pennant formation, straight to the upside, bullish pennant formation, straight to the upside. And now for the first time in this entire move, right, very important to note, this move has pretty much stemmed, 78% in 40 days. Insane level stuff here. Very, very fast move to the upside with no correction whatsoever. For the first time in the entire move to the upside since 38.5k, we have seen actual weakness develop, okay? Actual weakness. And this weakness has come through funding rates and liquidation maps having their effect on the market finally. Throughout this period of time, okay, throughout this 78% move in 41 days, we have seen funding rates on Bitcoin reach 3-year highs. And we've seen, even if you just look at this chart here, on the right-hand side of the screen, that's where the funding rates were. Positive funding rates reaching the highest levels they've seen, certainly in the last 6 months, but overall, as I said, in the last 3 years, we just can't see it in this chart. And generally speaking, when you see funding rates go that high, it becomes a very high-risk scenario for a flush to the downside. It's the exact same story when during a bear market, the price is moving downwards for a long period of time, there's no pumps, funding rates get very low, and therefore the market flushes to the upside before continuing downwards. The key words there were before continuing downwards. In this case, funding rates were very, very high. We're in a bull market. We're moving up very strongly. We saw a flush downwards, okay? And generally speaking, flushes downwards in a bull market are, the words that would follow that are, we will see a move downwards before continuing upwards. We are still in an upwards trend. It's very important to note that. Very strongly in an upwards trend. In fact, we're going to be in an upwards trend unless we break 50k, essentially. That's where our last low was. It's very unlikely that Bitcoin will flip back into a bear market here. I see no reason for that to be justified at all. I think this is a healthy correction. I think it's more than healthy, actually. And you might think, how can a 14% drop in 4 hours be healthy? That's clearly a bearish rejection from all-time highs. It is important to note, right? That you're not wrong to bring that up. It's important to note that the region we rejected from just then is the all-time high region. So we can see, we draw in a horizontal line from November 2021 all-time high. That's exactly where we rejected from. That's exactly where we saw this liquidation wick downwards 14% in 4 hours. And so a lot of people are actually concerned about that, believe it or not. Obviously, most people think we're in a bull market, but a lot of people see a strong rejection from the prior all-time high on Bitcoin. They get concerned. I'm telling you right now, it's not really something to be massively concerned about. This is very healthy price action. In fact, even if Bitcoin went downwards to something like 53K, which, who's to know if that's going to happen? But the point is, even if we did do that, that would be a perfectly healthy correction. There would be no reason to fear that. As soon as Bitcoin starts hitting that 48K level, that 49K level, and starts dropping below that level, which is the level supported by this wick here, by the base of the lows here, that's when you need to start worrying. There's no reason, in my opinion, right now, that Bitcoin should ever need to go below 49K again, at least for the next few years, at least in this bull market, okay? There's no reason why Bitcoin should need to do that. So we go below 49K, I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm selling everything. Quite frankly, that's what I'm doing. Now, obviously, if there's different context that emerges and we do it with unique circumstances, I can obviously change that opinion. But right now, the way I look at the charts, I don't see any reason whatsoever that we would need to go below that level. I think the lowest Bitcoin could go and remain healthy would be 49K exactly, and not going below it, but more likely 53K would be quite healthy. 57.5K would be exceptionally healthy. And let me make something very clear. None of these things actually need to happen. And that might sound ridiculous, right? Because you might look at the Bitcoin chart and see just unrelenting upwards price action and think we need a correction. But the fact of the matter is we have seen now a flash crash downwards. We have seen liquidation wicks. And if you're actually being legitimate and you're looking at the charts with a non-biased point of view, and this might sound ridiculous, right? But if you're looking at the charts from a non-biased point of view, and you go back in Bitcoin's entire price history, and you, for example, I've got a chart up, ready to do it over here. You go back to something like 2015, 2017, 2016, okay? Now, let me just give context before I go on with what I was going to say. 2015, 2016, 2017 is what I'm seeing is the most similar market to what we're seeing right now. Okay, previously I would have said it was 2019. I think that's changed a little bit. Okay, we saw a rounding bottom formation, just like what we're seeing right now. We saw this laddering pattern, okay, moving upwards. A structure would form, ladder upwards, structure would form, ladder upwards, structure would form, laddering upwards, laddering upwards, laddering upwards. I think 2017, 2016 is the most similar to what we're seeing right now. Okay, same story here, same structure. Rounding bottom, moving upwards, structure, laddering upwards, structure, laddering upwards. Probably going to be a structure forming here, and we're probably going to ladder upwards again. Now, does that mean we can't see corrections? Does that mean the market is only upwards? Not at all. During this formation in 2015, 2016, 2017, we did see corrections. In fact, it's very important to note, we saw corrections in a very similar fashion to how we just saw a correction in the last 24 hours. We saw very quick, very brief flash crashes to the downside, right? Flash crash to the downside, bang, done. Flash crash, bang, done. All these high, these massive wicks to the upside, massive wicks to the downside. It was very volatile. It was very jumpy and bumpy, but overall, the overall trend was massively upwards. Another flash crash right here. Another flash crash right here. I know we're on the weekly chart, but if you zoom into a daily chart, even the 4-hourly chart, you can find the exact same thing. 2016, 2017 was filled with these very brief, very sharp corrections and these very volatile moves. From what I'm seeing right now, I think that's what we're leaning more towards. And I think it started back here in January. I think we saw this very quick move to the upside, followed by a very quick move to the downside. We've now moved upwards very rapidly. We saw a very quick move to the upside above the all-time high, a very quick move to the downside, and now we're kind of stabilizing within those two levels. I think this is going to be a bull market that is filled with high volatility and very quick, crashes and very quick pumps. I think that's what we're going to be seeing, and I don't think that's unhealthy at all. It's very important to note that, when you see a 14% correction on Bitcoin in 4 hours, you need to zoom out and look at what Bitcoin's actually done. Bitcoin has moved up 78% in the last 41 days. This 14% correction might be shocking because you might be over leveraged in long positions, but it might be a good indication for you to wake up and stop taking 100x long positions in a bull market. Because although it might be logical, it might seem logical to take long positions in a bull market, the reality is bull markets are full of volatility. And volatility is not exclusively to the upside. Volatility is to the downside as well. Okay, we even saw this a few days ago when I first talked about it. Look at these volatile wicks here. Within a 2-hour period, Bitcoin had moved in a price range between 58K and 64K. It moved in a 9% price range in 2 hours. And then we continued upwards. Yeah, we're still in a bull market. We still moved upwards, but that volatility was very important to note, and it was very important to secure yourself against that volatility. I'm telling you right now, if your whole bull market strategy relies on taking 100x longs over and over and over again, you will get wrecked. You will get liquidated on every single position, because a bull market is centered around grabbing liquidity from the lower parts of the ranges and then moving higher based on that liquidity grab, right? That's what happens in a bull market. So this flash crash it was deadly. It liquidated a lot of people. But now, if we look at the liquidation maps, we can see the liquidation maps actually reset for the most part. Previously, we had, $2 billion worth of long liquidation leverage sitting just a few thousand USD below Bitcoin. Now it's actually flipped to the upside. Now, actually, if we move upwards to 70K, we'd be liquidating a lot more short positions now. So this actually leaves Bitcoin in a position to move higher. Now, maybe if you zoom out a little bit more to the 7-day liquidation map, you can see, okay, maybe there's room for a more substantial correction to something like 53K or something like 57.5K. But as I said, even if that occurs, it's not a problem because that's a healthy retracement in a macro bull market. Ethereum saw the same thing, right? Ethereum moved downwards even more aggressively than Bitcoin, about the same, but it moved down 15.5% instead of 14.7% in the same period of time. A lot of people, as I said, will see this liquidation, they'll see this flash crash of 14%, and they'll look at just the pure bare bones context and say, Bitcoin just crashed 14% after rejecting from all-time high. That's terrible, that's really bad, but I assure you, it's not really that bad. It's actually completely logical. If there's anywhere where we were going to see this flash crash occur, where would it have been? Of course it would be from the all-time high. That's the psychological resistance level. There's nothing wrong with that. If we look back in Bitcoin's price history, if we go to the daily chart, for example, and we just, we stay on logarithmic, we go to the daily chart, we zoom back, give the chart time to load here, we draw a line at the 2017 all-time high, and a line at the 2014 all-time high, and we look at the price action that occurred around that all-time high level during the bull market, we saw constant rejections. Rejection. It took us days. It took us months, right? It took us about, 114 days after reaching that all-time high level to break above it, filled with corrections, filled, again, with liquidation wicks to the downside. Look at these big wicks with daily candles, right? Because the funding rates were still so high, people were still so bullish, but every single time people got too bullish, the market flushed downwards. And then finally, when everyone was kind of convinced that the market would start going down because they'd seen all these rejections, the market just gradually moved upwards in an aggressive manner. Same thing in 2020, okay? Exactly the same thing. We reached the all-time high, and, this time it took quite a bit shorter period of time. It took about 20 days or 30 days. But yeah, we saw a flash crash downwards. Within one daily candle, we went from 18K all the way down to 16K. That's a big drop, right? That's 15%, similar to what we saw yesterday. We saw another test, another rejection. People were starting to lose confidence. And then once people started to lose confidence, once people calmed down in their long positions, we started to move upwards. I see no reason why this is not the same case. Yes, this cycle is different to previous cycles, okay, in terms of the time frame in which it is moving, in terms of the speed of which it's moving. But it's very similar in terms of the structure. The fact of the matter is, we did see a 1-year bear market, we see a 1.5-year accumulation, and we're seeing a bull market. It's come a bit earlier than expected, but it's still very much comparable to what we've seen in the past. And this is further supported by the fact that we've seen rejections from the prior all-time high. And do I think the Bitcoin will go into a more extended medium-term correction? I honestly don't know. Do I think it's very healthy and very possible? Yes. If Bitcoin went sideways here for a month, I would see absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. If Bitcoin went downwards to 57.5K, 53K, and it took 2 months to get above this level, I would see absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. If Bitcoin moved upwards tomorrow, I wouldn't see a problem either because we've seen the rejection, we've seen the flash crash, funding rates are reset, liquidation maps are reset. There's no problem with anything Bitcoin does now. And so we're in kind of a glorious stage of the market, right? We're in a stage of the market where Bitcoin can do whatever it wants as long as it doesn't go below like 49K. We're still in a bull market. We're still all good. The money cycle flow hasn't even started. We haven't even seen the altcoin season yet. What I will say is this in relation to the question I just asked of a medium-term correction. I will say this. If Bitcoin is going to see a medium-term correction throughout this entire move, right, from 38.5K, this is the most likely time we will see it. And the reason being is because this is the first time we've seen actual real weakness present in form of a very strong wick to the downside, breaking a prior low. This is the first time we've seen that. This is the first time through every single resistance level we've faced at 43k, at 53k, at 57.5k. It's the first time when we haven't just formed a bullish pennant and continued upwards. We've actually seen a substantial correction. So, will this correction progress more, and will we see this last for a month? I fundamentally do not know, but what I will say is that if we are going to see it, right, this is the most likely place it will occur. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. I do think I have a couple more things to talk about, but I think for the most part, I've covered everything. I just wanted to quickly cover, before I end it, Bitcoin ETF inflows. We saw the second highest day of ETF inflows ever, really, occur. Second highest day. So that's pretty significant. But in that second highest day, we only saw 80 million of positive net inflow rather than the usual 200 to 300 million. So it is an indication that Bitcoin ETFs don't have to be bullish forever. It's just important to note that, right? A lot of people do have that skewed bias that Bitcoin ETFs have to be bullish. Yeah, I mean, they lean bullish and they generally will be, but there can certainly be days of negative inflows. It's important to just keep that in mind because that's the second highest volume day, and we saw people selling on Bitcoin ETFs. So it's important to note that. Yeah, I think I've covered everything I want to cover. I'm sorry that I can't give you clarity as to whether we'll see a medium-term correction right now. As I said, I think if we're going to see it, it would be very healthy. I think out of this entire move, it's the most likely zone to see it from. It's what we've done in prior cycles. So yeah, it wouldn't be shocking at all. I think we just need a little bit more confirmation before I'm willing to make a claim of it. And I've given you targets for it as well. 57.5k, 53k. If we break all-time highs, if we get above 70k, then it's not going to happen. But until that point, that's what's on the table right now. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please check out BingX, BitGet. My referral links are down below. Check out the Crypto Academy's Become a Trader course, and check out the VIP group as mentioned at the start of the video. Have a good day, guys.